What's going on, guys? It's been a while since we've had a video to post on the channel, and today I was going through the NZ folder on my desktop, and I found an old video file that I uploaded like a year ago or so, where I talked about 5 underrated NZ cards. I liked that video. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I do think there's still more to talk about. At the time when that video came out, there were only 5 NZ sets. We have 9 now, and the 10th one is a month away. A month and then, yeah, a month, really. So I think it'd be just kind of fun to sit down and go over some cards that I think are still a little bit underrated. I do want to specifically say underrated and not so much underplayed, because I think there are things like Dende or Black Eradication Mastery or things like that, Goma, Tamagamis even, that I think are like underplayed. I think they're way better than the amount of play that they get. But I think that everyone kind of knows that too. So the cards I want to talk about today are more so cards that I think people are just like looking past entirely. Not ones that they like know are good, but are just, there's too many other good things to try right now. So I wanted to talk about the ones that fly under the radar a little bit that I think deserve a second look. So first up, I want to talk about Super Saiyan Retaliation. This card was just changed with the yearly update. It was switched from a combat to an energy combat card. It stops a physical or an energy attack. The next attack that you perform this combat gains any secondary or if successful effects of the attack that you stopped with this card. The new RFG. This is a really good block. Even before, when it was a combat card, like, you risked getting it sphered and that would be brutal, sure. But like, I think this card is awesome. Things like Goku's swiftly moving and stuff like that are already almost like fringe playable. But the part of the issue with them is that you are required to throw the same attack back at them. And sometimes you like stop an attack with Goku's swiftly moving and don't have the stages to pay for another energy right afterward. Or you trunk swiftly moving and stop a Namekian Heritage only attack that you can't perform now because you're not a Namekian. This card doesn't copy the attack, so you still get to do whatever attack you were going to throw, and you still get all the effects of the attack you were going to use. You just now get all of the effects of theirs too. And I think the game swings that can create when you catch someone like off guard and just throw something right back at them is huge, and I think it's way swingier than the amount of play that this card sees. The fact that it's not a combat card makes it, I think, so much more playable. And I know things like Pansy Sensei and things do make this a little bit of kind of a 86th card situation where, like, yeah, I could run this Omni block, or I could play the Omni block Sensei. And, so it's kind of hard, I get it. But I do think that the value you get out of this card, especially because you still get to do your own attack, whatever one you would have wanted to perform anyway, you still get to do. You can stop an energy with it and then throw a physical and not have to care about not having the stages to throw the energy back. There's so many things that you could do to get value out of this card, and I think it just deserves a little more attention than it gets. The next one here, Black Right Windup, I understand is a little bit of a hot take, and it might be one that I am kind of alone on. But I think this card is a lot better than people give it credit for, especially now that we've spent so much time working on the black physical for life cards engine. There's so many cards that care about that now. And say you're just playing this in Black Trunks Saga and it's a physical for +8 stages and 2 life cards off rip. It's got to be the first attack you throw, sure, but it's a good effect. That's good damage. And then if they stop it, you get to do more damage on the rest of your attacks. If you're in Trunks Saga, now you're doing +4 life on every attack you throw for the rest of the turn. That's pretty good. It does have to be your black style attack, so you do have to have kind of a black focused deck. But if you're doing the black attacks for life cards thing that we've kind of built, you're gonna have that anyway. So if they don't stop this, you just get to do a bunch of damage, and if they do stop it, you get to do a bunch of damage. The first attack thing is whatever, but the only thing that really feels bad about is that you can't throw a Gohan's kick first or something. But in black, you don't tend to have enough attacks anyway, most of the time, to truly justify a Gohan's kick. So things like, Boo's Fury or something you might want to do first. But there are plenty of hands where you'll draw this and it'll be perfectly fine to throw first. Especially now, too, that we have the Dark Deeds card that can fetch a card with first attack in the title and then, make it your first attack, is pretty effective. And you can still play this card even if you've already done another one. I don't know. I think this card is really cool. I think it's one that everyone just sort of looks right past and ignores. But I think if you're gonna try the black life cards deck, which I think is very worth playing, I think this should go in it. Up third, I've got Orange Defiance. I think this card is probably the closest to playable. The closest to not underrated on this list. I know Nick loves this card, and there are a couple of other people who are really into this, but I think it should see more play than it does. Part of it, I think, is that orange leveling, orange energy, doesn't see as much play as I think it should in general too. But this card's really effective, man. Getting to level 2 is fairly easy now. There are plenty of decks that'll do it well. There are plenty of decks that will do it very efficiently. And getting a double energy block off of this, it's sort of like basically an Orange Fist catch, but for energies, is really cool. And you can do some crazy things with it where you can enter combat, discard this from your hand, level. But now it's an orange card that you just discarded into your discard pile, which you can now remove from the game with Orange Evolution Mastery to then level again. So you can get 2 level ups out of the same combat. That's really cool. There's just a ton you can do with this card, and I think that Orange Energy in general, and even this in Orange Physical, leveling it, if you're playing Tapion or something like that, trying to level up, I think these just make a ton of sense. Even if you're playing something simple Classic, Cell, Cell's levels all have good attacks all the way up, and you can just turbo up to 3 and 4. Start working it out that way. If you want to do an Orange Goku thing where you're working on just using your draw card when entering combat powers, so you can when entering combat use evolution to level, then use the when entering combat of a different Goku to draw a card or whatever. There's a lot of things you can get away with, and I think that that mechanic in general should be explored more, and this card should be a staple part of the orange block package for that kind of deck. Third, I've got Frantic Restraint. This is a card that just recently saw a change as well. It was switched from if your opponent has 3 or more non-combats in play, they can't use freestyle non-combats for the remainder of combat. Now it is just all non-combats. So as long as your opponent has 3 or more, they can't use any of them. So you get a physical for +3 stages and in power 4 if you don't need it to be the rest of this effect. But if you're an attacking deck that has trouble with non-combats and the kind of stasis type situation that's created by some of the table plays to the table decks, this card you just throw this first and it says you can't use any of those this turn. Sorry about it. I don't know. I love this card. It's still a Sensei deck only card, I think, or not Sensei deck only, but a card you play in your Sensei deck. Because there are obviously plenty of games where you don't need to put this in if they don't have 3 non-combats. But, worst case scenario, physical for +3 stages and 4 life cards is, not garbage. It doesn't do anything interesting at that point, but it's not garbage. But in a Sensei deck, I have been running this, and I really like it. I've brought it in multiple times and had great success with it. I think that more people should be playing this. Personally, I think that this is one of those situations where it was fine before, but not good enough. And then since the change, people haven't really reconsidered it, and I really think they should. I think this card answers the amount of non-combat someone has on the table really, really well, and lets you at least play through a combat anytime you draw one of these. And finally, the last card I want to talk about is Black Poisoning. Some of the other cards on this list, I think people are close to knowing are playable or have used. Black Poisoning, I don't think anyone has played yet, period. I just played it myself in one of the side events that Nick just ran, and I really enjoyed the card. It's an energy for 3 life. It costs 1 stage, so not a lot of damage, but not a lot of cost, so that's okay. If successful, attached to your opponent's MP. While attached, your opponent discards the top card of their life deck at the beginning of each of their attacker attacks phases. Discard Black Poisoning when your opponent's MP is at their highest power stage during either player's declare step. So, from the top, it's just energy for 3, which is not very much damage. If your opponent wants to burn a block on 3 damage, like, you're feeling pretty okay, even if this doesn't go through, so you aren't upset if this doesn't connect. But if it does, there's a lot of attacker attacks phases, even in one combat, between when you throw this and when the combat ends, that your opponent can just be milling a card at a time. And the fact that it is highest power stage during either player's declare step means that it's like before you would get to power up with Vic Drill. It's before you can do it, you know, when you enter combat against your opponent enters on you, you throw this, attach it to them, then it goes to your turn. They're definitely not at 0 because they haven't got a power up yet. Or they're definitely not at full, sorry, because they haven't got the power up yet because it's your turn. So you can enter again, mill them another 4 or 5 times, because there's going to be, you know, at least that many attacker attacks phases in most combats that aren't just like combat ended or whatever. And this isn't a card you can only have 1 of attached. So if you get to attach a second copy of this and you're doing 2 at a time, and even if you do that like 5 or 6 times and you mill an extra 10, 12 cards out of their deck, like that's 2 pretty solid attacks, just like straight to face. Your opponent can't use endurance against, they can't block, you're just sort of slowly chipping away, you know, poisoning their life deck. I don't know, man. I think this card is way better than the amount of credit that people give it. I just used it, and I can guarantee you the opponent I used it against would tell you that they had a bad time while it was attached. It was very effective at getting me a little bit of a lead while I had it. I was just about there on attaching a second one, which would have been brutal. I don't know. Black Poisoning is really high on my list of like most underrated cards in the entirety of the league. I think this card is way cooler than the amount of love that it gets. That's it though. That's all I've got. I had 5 quick cards I wanted to talk about. Short little video today overall. But I don't know. I think that, you know, there were, with this new set coming out, we're 365 cards or something into the NZ project. And of course, within 365 cards, there are going to be a couple cards that are stinkers and not everyone's going to play. And then there's even going to be a couple of cards like these and the previous 5 that not everyone is going to give enough attention to. There are going to be the obvious like outliers that are the ones you're going to pick every time. And there are going to be the strategic like tech ones that are good for like supporting the specific master you're going to play or whatever, and so you're obviously going to use those. But some of these go a little bit under the radar because their purpose is a little more niche and just like less obvious how good they'd be, and I think that they deserve a little bit of attention too. So I recommend with all 5 of these cards that you pull a copy out of your binder, give it a shot, and see how they feel. I think all of them have been very cool to use and continue to surprise me every time I use them, especially Retaliation and Frantic Attack that have been made better since the last time you probably looked at those cards. Are there any cards, if you've watched this video this long, are there any cards that you can think of that you consider underrated NZ cards? Some that are like personal favorites of yours that you don't think enough people are giving credit to? I'd love to know your answers there too. But I'm sure there will be more as we continue this journey of NZ, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of cards that get kind of swept under the rug as more and more come past us, and I'm sure I'll keep finding ones I think deserve a little more limelight. Until that time, I'll see you around the bend.